Welcome back. It is the Vegas Tape. Sharp and Shapiro, glad you could join us. By the way, reminder tomorrow we have Republican Pat Cassell. He used to do a show here at KDWN. He's going to be joining us in studio tomorrow for some spirited debate. Also, Sandy Van, from the Sandy Van Law Firm will be joining us in studio in hour number 3 as well. And what will Donald Trump say next? What is the next ignorant statement that Donald Trump will say, either in a speech or on Twitter? Trust me, we'll be covering it. Boy, this stuff in Hong Kong is getting serious, folks. We'll continue to monitor this situation. That airport completely shut down. But before we went to break, we had Pat call in. We were talking about the difference between shotguns and, for example, an AR-15. And my point, and we're going to bring Pat back on here, my point is that, why do people have to have a gun that can, unload bullets so quickly? That, to me, that's the big issue that we're facing here, whether it's a shotgun or an AR-15. So, Pat, what do you say to that?
Well, just let me give you a little background. I'm a retired sheriff's deputy, and I work specifically in pre-planning for mass shootings, school shootings, bank robberies, and so on. But my point is with the shotgun versus an AR-15. Now, I'll give you the one up on the AR-15 as far as shooting from many distances. But close range, such as a classroom in a school, if a bad guy has an automatic shotgun with a 30-round barrel, and if he has either a double-aught buck or number 2 buckshot, all he has to do is open the door in the classroom and unload 4 or 5, maybe 6 shots in less than 30 seconds, and very easily could he take out a classroom of 25 or 30 students, go to the next classroom and do the same thing.
So let me ask you this then. Would you rather, God forbid, but if you want to take out as many people as possible, let's just say in war, for example, what type of weapon would you want?
Well, for short range, I would go with a shotgun with a 30-round barrel.
For long range?
30-round magazine.
And for long range?
Long range, you could go with a 30-06, you can go with a 30-30, you can go with an AR-15, doesn't matter.
Okay,
They're all long-range rifles.
Are you okay with any of these weapons? Are you okay, for example, the Dayton shooter, okay? Mm-hmm. The guy bought 250 rounds of ammunition. Now, forget about the fact that he was mentally ill for a second, because that is obviously a very important issue. Obviously.
I think that's only a piece of the puzzle, but yeah.
Right. I think there are a lot of pieces to the puzzle, Pat. I'm not saying there's one piece or gun legislation. I'm not saying that's the only reason why these things are happening or would prevent it from happening. But the point I'm trying to make is, are you okay with 250 rounds of ammunition and that type of weapon that scumbag used to execute people?
I think it's a little excessive.
Right.
Okay, so we agree that something needs to happen.
Pat, let me ask you this. Who needs the shotgun you described that can kill 25 people in 30 seconds? Who needs a shotgun like that with 30? No, I'm saying anybody. Why is a shotgun like that made with a 30-round barrel?
Well, primarily it's for collectors. It looks kind of cool in a gun case.
Okay.
But, the problem is that, and I think Columbine will use that for an example. Unfortunately, if people want to do mass destruction, they're going to use guns, they're going to use bombs, they're going to use whatever they want. But I think a good example of Columbine is that they had several 20-pound propane cylinders. Thank God they didn't detonate. Sorry, I'm out on a walk.
That's all right. Well, let me, Pat. Listen, I think we all could come to agreement here. Something needs to be done.
There's no question.
It sounds like the magazine clip, the amount of rounds in the weapon are pretty much the most important thing in the grand scheme of things.
Well, yeah, I think.
But
yeah,
and I agree with you. But the issue with that is there's nothing to stop somebody from carrying 10 or 20 or 30 or 50 magazines either.
Well, it's like what Chris Rock said, Pat. And by the way, I do appreciate the call. Thank you very much for the phone call. It's what Chris Rock said.
Great call, Pat.
Chris Rock, the comedian, said once in the day, here, I got something that'll solve gun violence in this country. Just charge $100 per bullet. He made a joke, and listen, there's nothing funny about what's been taking place in this country, but he did make a joke, and he said, listen, if one of my friends is thinking about shooting somebody, he might think twice. He might not want to spend $100 on the bullet, and it's kind of funny. I mean, but in a way,
would it be unreasonable to ban a weapon with a round larger than 5 or 10 from someone who isn't working in law enforcement in a public place?
I don't know.
Would that be unreasonable? I don't think it would be unreasonable.
No, but I think Pat and many other like-minded people like himself, obviously he knows a lot about guns. I never said I did, but it's what I said earlier, and it's pretty simple. I'll say it again. The real question with these mass killings is, why do people need to have a gun that can unload bullets so quickly? Now, if you want to get into AR-15 or this shotgun or that shotgun, My opinion doesn't change. These types of weapons should not be out there in society. And if you're just going to say to yourself, well, I need to defend myself, you don't need a bazooka gun. You don't need a full artillery that they would use in war to defend yourself for a home invasion.
I don't need an armored Humvee.
No.
To go to the Strip.
No. So I don't agree with that argument. I also don't agree with the asinine argument. And I'm not talking about our last caller. I'm talking about in general the argument, well, people could use a knife. They could use a bomb. Look at the Boston bombings. Now, listen, one death is too many, but how many people died in Boston? One is too many. Several people died. A lot of people were injured.
I think 3 people died in Boston.
But guess what? If they had these types of weapons, both of them, and they just decided to unload, I guarantee you more than 3 people would have died. While I never want any person innocent to die, ever.
Well, it's a prime example. Paddock, 560 people were wounded, 60 were dead.
Mm-hmm.
One person with an artillery of weapons, or so they say, one person, one 57-year-old man with no experience somehow killed all those people. That's one and why? Because of the weapons and because of the magazines.
It's sickening. It's disgusting. Something clearly needs to be done. We're going to continue this conversation, and we got to keep talking about this until proper gun legislation is passed. Again, that number to call, 257-5396, if you want to be a part of this conversation, 702-257-5396. So I have never heard of the terminology swatting before. JD, maybe you could explain to me what this is all about, because I've never heard of it before until now, and I was reading this story, and I'm fascinated by it. So tell me what's going on here.
Well, as you know, Fortnite is kind of a national and an international phenomenon, and the winner of a Fortnite tournament won $3 million a couple weeks ago.
So explain to people what a Fortnite tournament is.
A Fortnite's a video game. So when your kid, say you're a parent and you've got 2 kids and they're 11 and 9, and they're playing Fortnite, and they're really, really good Fortnite players, it's not necessarily the worst idea to stop them, because they could be training to make you a lot of money and themselves a lot of money, because people get paid now to play video games. There's an esports arena here in Vegas, the first one that ever opened in the Luxor.
Yeah.
So what swatting is so that the kid who won $3 million a couple weeks ago, he was playing in a Fortnite tournament of some sort, and there's a new strategy to basically take your opponent out of the game while they're still in the game. It's called swatting, which you get the SWAT team to show up at your opponent's house by calling in and making some crazy statement. I think in this case they said they called in pretending to be this kid who won $3 million, and they said, I killed my parents and I'm crazy, and et cetera, et cetera. And within 15 minutes, the actual SWAT team showed up at this kid's house, and he had to deal with them for an hour. He ended up losing the match. That's what swatting is. It's being in a match in a video game and literally trying to get the SWAT team to show up at your opponent's house by pretending to be them and claiming something crazy.
How often is this stuff happening?
I mean, apparently it's happening. I mean, if there's a term for it, there's a reason for it. Clearly it's happened at least more than once.
So can they figure out who made the call?
Yeah. The kid
This is a serious crime.
It's a huge crime. Yeah.
It's serious.
I mean, it's the boy who cried wolf times 100 in the year 2019.
What do you think? So it's kind of like if you call in a bomb threat to a college or something like that on exam day, right? I mean, it's the same type of crime. That's serious. That's a felony.
Absolutely.
You can't do that.
And in this case, say there's money involved in a Fortnite match to some degree. Say a sponsor is on the hook for a couple $100,000, or say there's a wager in place, which a lot of wagers take place. You're actually enriching yourself by doing this, which makes it even worse.
Yeah, this is a serious crime. And I've never heard of that. I'm going to be honest with you. I've never heard of swatting before.
Well, I mean, it's a sign of the times and how completely ridiculous they are.
I mean, I've heard of squatting. I've never heard of swatting. That's something I've never heard of before. That's incredible. Well, we'll continue to monitor this story, because eventually somebody's going to get hurt or maybe even possibly killed for some of these idiots calling in a fake crime. You never know. You never know what could happen. So stuff's got to stop. But we'll continue to monitor that. I wanted to quickly mention former Boston Red Sox pitcher, Hall of Fame pitcher, Curt Schilling, who once used to work for ESPN Radio, Baseball Tonight, and he was fired because of his views that lean way to the right. And while I do understand if you're a public figure, you represent your company, if you're saying things on social media that the company may feel hurts them business-wise, you have to let that person go. Well, now Curt Schilling is saying that there's a good chance that he'll be running for Congress out of Arizona. The President of the United States has put out some comments supporting Curt Schilling. I don't agree with Curt Schilling policy, politics. He blames the left for everything. He is way on the right. I think he is a Looney Tune. He was a hell of a pitcher. I don't agree with him.
I mean, he was an outstanding pitcher.
Outstanding pitcher.
Unbelievably talented pitcher.
In my opinion, his politics are the opposite of that. He wouldn't even be in the single A in baseball.
I'll tell you this, he will easily win if he runs in Arizona.
Oh, absolutely.
Easily.
Yeah,
he'll be a shoo-in.
You know, what part of that, though, do you think is his celebrityness?
Oh, there's what part of it is Donald Trump's? Jesse Ventura, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean,
Trump, it's I think 95%.
Al Franken. I mean, the list goes on and on and on.
And I think
celebrity is a big part. Building a brand is a big part of becoming a political figure. I mean,
which I don't like.
If Oprah Winfrey wanted to win the presidency, she could easily win the presidency. I think she would crush Trump.
I don't know. I think we're in a day and age right now. If The Rock ran for president, he'd have a good chance.
Yeah, I think the Rock would be top 3.
If Oprah Winfrey ran for president, I think she would defeat Donald Trump. If Michelle Obama ran, and Michelle's not, is she a celebrity? Yes, she was also former first lady.
I don't think that she would win, but she would definitely give Donald Trump a run for his money.
I think
Joe Biden doesn't have a chance, a snowball's chance in hell.
No, I don't.
In my opinion,
and I think Joe Biden's going to be the front runner for the Democrats. I don't see Kamala Harris pulling it out. I do think Biden's going to be the guy that's going to be running against Trump, and I think ultimately, unless Donald Trump does not want to win, he will win the election in 2020. I think if Biden gets Kamala Harris as his vice president, it would probably be Kamala Harris or Booker. But if he picks Kamala Harris, I think it gives him a slight chance to win. I don't see it happening. I think the Democratic Party right now is in a lot of trouble.
What if our friend of the show and close acquaintance, Michael Avenatti, decides to run this year?
Well,
do you think he has any chance whatsoever of winning the Democratic?
He would be the first one to tell you he's got to get through his legal battles
obviously,
before.
But we talked about it. We talked about it when he came on the show.
Unfortunately, in our society, when somebody puts up a false claim, and that's exactly what it was, a false claim, when a woman said that he physically assaulted her, one of his exes, it hurts your credibility. And Michael's innocent when it comes to that stuff. He is. There were never charges even filed. That hurt him. It hurt him tremendously. It hurt him. He had a lot of support from the Democratic Party. I don't know what's going to happen over the next 6 to 12 months, but the problem is he'd be putting his name in the hat way too late. This needed to happen a year ago. And you're missing debates. You're not able to be on stage. Yes, I absolutely think Avenatti would have been able to get the 2% or the 1%, whatever it is, to be able to get on one of those debate stages. But it's too late now. I would say the odds of him running for president, if he even gets through these legal battles, which I hope he does, is very, very low that he will run for president because there's just not a lot of time left to go. All right, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take our final break, final segment coming up next. Want to talk a little bit about Bryson DeChambeau, why he's apologizing to his fellow PGA Tour players. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to the Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDWN.
Clark, this is all you can eat. We only need one plate.
Oh, yeah, okay. These rolls.
I had that last time I was here. That's good.
Fresh broccoli. God bless you.
Spaghetti bolognese here. Lucky you came on our Italian night. That stuff will knock your socks off.
This doesn't look like chicken.
Oh, you're right. This isn't chicken. This is chicken. Want some?
Well, have some of the yellow. And don't get cheap on me.
Welcome back to the Vegas Take. I love it. That's one of my favorite comedies right there. Remember that movie? Vegas Vacation. Clark W. Griswold at the buffet line. That'll make you not want to go to a buffet in Vegas, I'll tell you that much. Crazy. But anyway, welcome back to the show. Glad you could join us. So what are some of the biggest mistakes you could make in a buffet line? I've said this a couple times on the show. I'll repeat myself again. I am certainly not on the front of Fitness Magazine, and I will not be anytime soon because I love buffets. I like sushi buffets. I mean, the Wynn has an incredible buffet. Maybe they'll comp me because it's pretty expensive. It's like $50 to go to the buffet there. The M has a fantastic buffet. There's a lot of great buffets in Las Vegas. This is a buffet-type town. And if you go to a really high-quality buffet, you're probably saving a lot of money, even if you're going to the Wynn saying you're spending $50. Because if you get that same type of food, say at a steakhouse, you're probably paying triple the money. So there's good value, and then you go to some of these other buffets in town that are just awful. You know, I feel like I get sick when I go to some of these buffets that are like $6.99, $7.99, and I guess that's my fault. So I've stopped doing that. But there are some things you could look out for when you go to these buffets to make sure you're in the right place. The first mistake that people say, this is according to MSN.com. They did some research on this. I wonder what's that's like, by the way, getting a story like that. Hey, I want you to do some research on buffets. Go to 100 buffets. It's on us. Wow, we're a really tough job. Anyway, the first mistake that many people make, or that what you should at least look for, is avoid all items at buffets with disengaged management. What they're trying to say is, you know, when you're going up, the restaurant staff should be attentive. They should be present. And there needs to be people around that are, I guess, freshening up the food, so to speak. And if you don't see that, you're probably at the wrong buffet, and you should probably go somewhere else. So that's the first biggest mistake. Another mistake is they say no to wilted lettuce and other sorry-looking foods at buffets. We just played that clip from Vegas Vacation. I'll take a little bit of the yellow. I'll take a little bit of the green. If it looks like that, chances are it's probably not going to settle very well in your stomach. You got to look at the food, look at its integrity, see how it's being stored. If something doesn't look right, chances are it's probably not going to be right. Also, steer clear of foods that are not kept at the proper temperature. I went with a friend to a buffet on Tropicana last year. He ate some sushi, and I said to myself, wow, that's weird. That sushi is not being kept cold. And sushi goes bad pretty fast, as you know. He loaded up on sushi at this buffet. It was one of those cheap buffets because I'm a cheapskate. I bought him lunch. He loaded up on these buffets, and then he had watermelon to top it all off. And he was really sick that night. I felt bad, and then the next day we kind of laughed it off. But I said to myself, if you're going to eat sushi, you better go to a really good sushi place that specializes. I don't trust sushi at many buffets. So that is another mistake that you have to look out for, clearly, right? You have to. You have to be careful with how they're serving the food. And we were just talking about this, the fourth mistake, be wary of anything raw at buffets. You know, obviously we just talked about sushi. It goes bad really, really fast. And the last mistake, or that people need to look out for at these buffets, don't eat buffet food that's been mishandled by other patrons. This is the most disgusting, vile thing. Speaking of Donald Trump, I'll have to include Donald Trump is one of those guys. He'll be in line at the buffet. He'll grab it with his hand, and then he'll put a little bit on his plate, and then he'll use the same. By the way, this is one of my OCD things. When somebody has a used food plate, and they're finished, and they go back up there, and they use the same plate, don't do it. Stop it already. It's gross. And then I get people coughing and sneezing into food. It's nasty, man. Listen, I get grossed out when people don't use gloves at, like, Subway. I think they're supposed to. I don't like it when people handle my food. I've always been a little skeptic when it came to that stuff. I don't even like when people are making a pizza for me or something and they're not using gloves. I get freaked out by that, too. Listen, my car is disgusting, but I get OCD when it comes to my food. My car is gross. But there's certain things in life that what I eat. So that's kind of like the rundown here. Look, there's plenty of buffets in Las Vegas. You can get a really good deal for like $5.99, $6.99, $7.99. I'd be very, very wary of those places. You get what you pay for in this town. You know, I grew up on the East Coast. I spent a lot of time in Manhattan. You could spend $10 and have maybe the best lunch of your life in Manhattan. It ain't going to happen in Las Vegas. There are great restaurants here, make no mistake about it, great buffets. But you have to spend money in this town to really have a good meal. At least that's my opinion. If I'm wrong, please tell me. But the majority of the restaurants that I've gone to in Vegas, that you walk out of saying, wow, that was unbelievable. It's a great meal. If you're going to go to a local casino and you're going to get a $3.99 steak and eggs, chances are you're not going to be getting a very high quality meat for $3.99. I remember when I first moved to Vegas, gosh, a long time ago, 15, 20 years ago, and I look at these signs, $3.99 steak and eggs. 99-cent shrimp cocktail. Remember they used to have the 99-cent shrimp cocktail at Fremont Street? Well, that's gone. That ain't happening anymore. So I had this $2.99. I don't remember whether it was $2.99 or $3.99, but it was right around that price range. I'm going to tell you, I couldn't even bite into the steak. It tasted like rubber. It tasted like somebody cut a piece off of my car with some eggs on the side. It was gross. It was disgusting. You get what you pay for. If you think the deal is too good to be true, chances are it probably is. I know that's a cliche, but certainly in Vegas, that is 150% true. So I guess the point I'm trying to make here, because I care about all of you listeners, be careful. Be careful with the food that you're ordering. Be careful with the buffets that you go to because you could pay the price later. Just ask me. I went to Taco Bell yesterday, and yes, I did pay the price. So coming up this week, tomorrow, Pat Cassell going to be joining us. He is a broadcaster. He used to do a show here at KDWN, and he's a Republican. So we're probably going to get into some battles going. Sandy Van from the Sandy Van Law Firm will be joining us in hour number 3. Thursday, there is going to be fireworks in studio. I promise you that. I don't mean good fireworks. You know when you go on a date with somebody and there's just fireworks right from the start. Good fireworks. No, I'm talking good and bad fireworks. I'm talking good because I think it'll be great radio because we have Michael Avenatti in studio Thursday along with Steve Sanchez. That is somebody way on the right, somebody way on the left. Always will be good radio. It might not be good fireworks for them, but it'll certainly be good fireworks for KDWN and the Vegas Take. I promise you that. That is going to be a lot of fun Thursday. And Patrick Lindsay, who is the director of the Shriners Hospital for Children's Open, will be joining us in studio. It's amazing. That golf tournament, the PGA Tour in our backyard, that's right around the corner, man. So Patrick Lindsay will be joining us on Friday. And the show Potted Potter on the Strip. Members of that show will be joining us in studio on Friday, and we'll be giving out tickets. So we got a loaded rest of the week, man. This is our first week doing the show 9 a.m. to noon, so we're really excited about that. I'm happy with these hours, man. Are you kidding me? I got the rest of the day to do whatever the hell I want. I like it. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It is a little weird, though, saying, hey, guys, Sean Hannity is coming up next. That is a little strange. But we gotta go. We got to go, folks. It is time to say goodbye. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to our guest. We're going to take a short 21-hour break. We'll be back right at you. 9 a.m. short tomorrow. Have a great night, everybody.